Andrei.
Hello, Andrei.
Nice to see you again and welcome back to our podcast.
Nice to see you. I like this greeting. It's simple. Hello, Andrei. Hello, Andrei.
Yeah, exactly. Let's confuse people. Who's Andrei and who's Andrei?
Andrei said that, and Andrei didn't agree with it.
Exactly. And it was the same Andrei.
Yeah.
That would be funny. So
Yeah.
we gathered today to talk about group thinking. So I would like to invite you to open the topic for us today.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a topic I proposed, and I'm just going to make a very brief introduction, history kind of thing, and then we just talk about it. I've seen this happening in real life in many times, but from a theoretical, so to say, point of view, this is a concept that I think it was first named in the 50s. Somebody came up with the idea of groupthink. And then there was a person, Irving Janis, if I don't get it wrong, who wrote a book in the 70s about groupthink. And that's like the first time it was researched in a more serious way. And what Irving Janis studied in that book was situations. He looked primarily at government examples, like mostly American government, because that's what he were, failed initiatives. You could call them stupid ideas. Like, how did they get that wrong? Like, one of the main examples he's looking at is the invasion in Cuba, in the Bay of Pigs, which when you look after the fact that what they thought they wanted to do there, it's like, obviously this would fail. How could you think this could work type of situation? And what he discovered was something that I think we all of us who work in a team, who work in a company, have seen, are seeing, or are at risk of being confronted with. And it's a situation when you have a group of people discussing something, trying to make a decision, working on something. And individually, they're smart people, competent people, motivated people. So we're not talking about incompetence, good people. But somehow in a group dynamic, sometimes important things get missed and very bad decisions get taken, even if individually those people are well-intended, competent, well-informed, smart, etc. And this happens for a number of
So
reasons and in a number of situations. So this is groupthink. What do you think about it? How do you see it?
what I understand from you so far is that brainstorming could be potentially really dangerous for a company. But that's more of a joke than a truth, because I think the brainstorming methodology has a certain framework that encourages divergent thinking. But I believe you are right. And what I feel as being true behind this idea is that in trying to please everyone, you don't please anyone, and you're trying to take the most okay-ish solution, to find the most okay-ish solution for everybody, but instead you end up with a shitty solution in reality that doesn't solve the problem and doesn't help you to progress towards your goals. So I definitely do not enjoy when I was in I didn't enjoy when I was in certain contexts, and we had to take a group decision, and it was let's make the decision in order to be better for best for everyone, but in reality wasn't good for anyone, because
Yeah.
it was a compromise for everybody, and it wasn't a real solution that was solving anyone's problem, in fact. So can you give us I like to better understand how you're thinking. So can you give me an example of a practical situation in a corporation when you had maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, I can, and I would like to. So the thing you mentioned too, I think people usually call it design by committee. When you're trying to make everyone happy, like you have an idea, you have an idea, you have an idea, let's put them all in and see what comes out. I think groupthink is a bit maybe even worse than that, because groupthink is something that happens without you even realizing it happens sometimes. A very common example, I think, is, let's say you have to come up with a plan for a project, to estimate a piece of work, say how much it will take, how much can we do it, how much it will take, how much it will cost. And so it's a typical situation, like we have a sales opportunity, and the salesperson comes to the technical team and tells them, hey, this client would like this, can we do it, and how much will it take? And then the technical team comes together and looks at the requirements and debates and estimates and comes up with a plan. This process of debating, discussing, and figuring out things and coming up with a plan, not typically, it's not like in the majority of the cases, but in a lot of cases falls victim to groupthink because of reasons such as the following. A lot of pressure, for example, put on that group. So if there is a lot of pressure coming from sales or from management that, hey guys, we have to do it, we must do it, let's have a positive attitude, let's say yes, yes we can, let's be optimistic, and so on and so on, that will influence the deliberation decision-making process. And imagine a specific situation when they're looking at some requirements or something, and one of the people in that discussion thinks that, I'm not sure that's clear, or I'm not sure that's as simple as people seem to think it is. I think that could be a problem. I think that could be a risk. And they're thinking this. And a lot of the times, you end up in a groupthink situation, they're thinking it, but they're not saying it. They're
So
not saying it
basically,
because, yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
just
Yeah.
sorry. Basically, what I understand is that you concede your opinions and concerns, and you just do not communicate them because you believe that they will put pressure on the group and will not help the group actually to solve the problem, and you don't want to stand out and you want to create problems, and you just
Yeah.
whatever else everybody else is thinking is going to be good enough for me. And if everyone in the group does the same, actually you are going to have a very bad solution because nobody really speaks their mind. And
Yeah.
let's have the others way, and let's go
Yeah.
that way. I understand. Okay,
And that's a funny
so yeah.
situation. Just one thing I wanted, because that's really funny what you said. It's a situation called the illusory majority, where we have, let's say, 5 people discussing something like this estimate. And I'm thinking, I think it will take more than we say it will take more. And I sort of look around and everyone else seems to be okay with the current number, the current decision. And I'm thinking, everyone seems okay with it. It's probably just me. Probably I missed something because everyone else seems okay. But it's possible that 2 or 3 or 4 or everyone else is thinking the
Is
same.
doing the
And they're
same.
all thinking, they're the only ones thinking it, and nobody's saying anything
Yeah.
because they will think the other people are okay with it. And that can happen for a number of reasons, including like negative things like, fear and pressure, and you don't want to upset the boss. But also when you're too optimistic and just overconfident in your abilities, it can happen because of that as well.
Yeah. It's like you mistake the silence with approval, and you believe that everybody else, if it's silent, they're all approving the idea that is being presented. So why speak against it? But actually, everybody is silent because they have their own thoughts, thinking about better solutions than the one presented, and no one wants to speak up. That's a really interesting situation, and I think most of us aren't aware when this happens. And I think not only in business, but in family situation, we find ourselves doing something like this because let's just do something that is better for everyone, and actually is no good because that person maybe is trying to predict what are you thinking and trying to do the best for you. In reality, you are not meeting because you're not communicating about what problem are you solving, and everybody is projecting on the other person. I think that person believes that, and I'm trying to solve that problem. That person says nothing, it means it's okay, and the other person
Yeah,
thinks
and I
the
don't want
same
to make a
about.
big deal out of it. Yeah, I'm just going to keep
Yeah,
quiet because it's fine
yeah,
like that.
exactly. That's really an interesting situation. So, is there a solution to this, or is just something that we need to be aware of?
There's many solutions. There's many techniques or things to apply. None of them guarantees anything, but there's things to do. So groupthink can happen even in a good culture with a good boss, so to say. So it's not something that only happens in bad companies with bad bosses, because you can imagine very easily how it can happen in a bad company. Like, have a very aggressive boss who's like, that's a stupid idea, and if you have a boss like that reacts like that and treats their people like that, obviously people are not going to speak up anymore, and you have groupthink, and that's obvious. But even in a good team, in a good company, with good people, with a good boss, it can happen. So for example,
Before we move, yeah,
yeah,
just hold your idea for a second before you move forward. I think it's important to make the distinction between being a tyrannical boss and oppressing the team and not letting them speak, and just being creating an environment where people do not speak because they do not think they can speak up. So it's a big difference. The group thinking problem, it's not in the situation when the boss is tyrannical, because that's oppression, that's something else. But
yeah,
even if
yeah,
the boss is well intended and he's trying to give space and room for the persons to speak up, they do not speak up still, and the
yeah.
group thinking problem still appears. Sorry for the
And let me give
intervention.
you,
I wanted to make the
no,
differentiation
don't be,
between
it's
tyrannical
absolutely okay.
bosses and relaxed
Yeah.
environments.
So
Going
jump
back
in
to your
anytime,
example.
no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me give you an example of a good boss with a good team that can suffer from groupthink.
Mm.
So, for example, if they have a very positive attitude, which is also a good thing to have a positive attitude, and from most points of view, having a positive attitude, solution oriented, yes, we can find solutions, let's try to fix things, let's try to do things, that's a good thing. But if you take it too far and you say something like, "Hey guys, let's not bring problems. Let's bring solutions. Let's focus on solutions, and always focus only on solutions." And again, that's generally speaking a good thing. But if you do it too much, what can happen is that sometimes someone from the team sees a problem, but they sort of know that we don't like to talk about problems. We like to talk about solutions. And they're going to say, okay, I'm going to keep thinking about it for a while until I find a solution too. And you get
Mm.
groupthink because they don't speak up. Or sometimes what happens is, as a boss, you go to the team and you say, okay, we have this thing to do, whatever it is. Let's say this estimate for that project or a decision to make. What do you guys think? Open-ended question. What usually happens is that the people that speak first are usually the most senior, the most confident, the most extrovert people. And that's fine, nothing wrong with that. But they speak first, and they always speak first. They speak very confidently, usually. They're
Mm.
confident in what they say because that's why they speak first, because they're very confident people. And other people in the team, which maybe are a bit shyer or a bit more introvert or a bit more junior or not so confident in their own opinions, are going to listen to them and think, oh, this guy seems really confident. Probably he's right. I mean, he is the most experienced person in the team. Probably what I'm thinking is I missed something. And again, they're not
Yeah.
going to say anything. And I'm not talking about a case where someone is a bully, like,
Mm.
just the fact that someone speaks first very confidently
I
from
think
a position of authority can make other people not speak up.
here two very important factors take place, and there are two cognitive biases I want to address. Is like the authority, appeal to authority. We believe, oh, because they are the expert, they must be right, and you do not feel like contesting them, even if you feel like it might be wrong. What are they saying? And secondly is the halo effect. If they are
Yeah,
good at being a very good engineer in the team, they must also be right about management, or they also must be right about any other stuff. But
everything.
in reality,
Yeah,
everything, yeah. But in
yeah.
reality, you are just projecting their competency onto other skills they do not necessarily possess.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it's important to mention this, because you have to be aware of these two types of biases in order to, okay, now I'm projecting authority onto that person. Maybe I shouldn't do that, and I try to engage with the idea, not the perception of that person I have of that person. So yeah,
Yeah.
really, really interesting stuff. So we are just trying to get around to I'll get back to the question. Is there a solution? Because we
Yes.
spoke about the context more until
So
now.
let's talk about a few of the solutions. So
Mm.
one simple thing to fix is the structure of meetings. So whenever you have
Mm.
meetings where you're trying to debate something, and I use debate in the general sense, make a
Yeah.
decision, deliberate something, as a leader, you can structure that meeting to make sure that everybody speaks. So
Mm.
one way to do it is just simply go around the table. Like, from left to right, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And sort of make everyone speak their mind, quote unquote. An even better way to do it is to start from the most junior person in the room and go up towards the most senior person in the room. Because the most senior person in the room, if they speak first, they will influence everyone else without
Yeah.
intending to. If you start from the most junior, they cannot be influenced by anything because they haven't heard anything yet. And that's one way to do it. You can also, like actually you mentioned at the beginning, brainstorming. Brainstorming is one way of sort of working, among other things, against groupthink. Because in brainstorming, again, you're trying to sort of encourage everyone to contribute, and you're forcing, quote unquote, their contributions because everyone says things, and or you don't have to have everything figured out. It's just, just speak your mind type of situation. If it's a longer process, so if it's just like we meet once for half an hour to discuss something, it's just these simple things. But if it's like a longer process, we have to spend a month or 2 months planning something with multiple stages. You should structure that process also to minimize the risk of groupthink by organizing, for example, different subgroups that work on different things independently from each other, so they don't influence each other. And also, when you tell them to investigate a certain things, don't put too much pressure on them and don't tell them what needs to happen. So don't go and tell them, find out a way in which we can deliver this thing in a month or in X time. Because if you tell them that, you're framing their mindset to not see other risks and other options. Just tell them something, look at the best ways to deliver these things as fast as possible. So now they're more open-minded, and they're more likely to come up with whatever they think is real. And then another thing you should do as a leader in most of those, so if you have one of these longer-term processes to figure out something, to plan something, to decide something, they will have all kinds of meetings to share knowledge, to debate, intermediate results and things like that. You as the leader should not go to most of those meetings because your simple presence there is going to influence the dynamic of the group. And again, even if you're not like a bad leader, they may want to just, seem positive and give you some good news and maybe try to impress you or whatever. And again, you're influencing them. So don't go to most of those things. And if you structure things like that to give people a context in which they're as likely as possible to not be influenced and have their own thoughts and things like that, you are going to probably avoid groupthink.
That's really interesting. But I see I have a lot of questions basically because
Awesome.
firstly, why is that not happening in the companies? And I have a couple of reasons I'm going to tell you, and I want to see what's your opinion on it. I think, for example, going on in a round table, asking everyone about their opinion. I think most of the managers, so some of them, or at least some of the managers, have a bias towards some certain team members. They're like, their opinion is not valuable, or he has a track record of saying the wrong thing, so I'm not going to give you the opportunity to do it again and stuff like that. So how do you make it feel kind of natural in the team without forcing that person that is not a great contributor to the team to have a valuable contribution of some sorts? I don't know if the question is clear, but I hope you better unpack it.
But I think so. Before answering that, let me give an example in where that is happening. So, for example, in software, a lot of teams use a delivery process called Scrum, which is a way of organizing a team and delivering software. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with it, but I'm just explaining it for all our audience because not all of them may be from IT. This delivery process comes with a set of guidelines, a set of rules, a certain way of doing things, and also a certain set of meetings. So you have a planning meeting every 2 weeks, and you plan the work for those 2 weeks. At the end of those 2 weeks, you have a meeting where you look at what you did, and then you have another meeting where you analyze how it went and can you improve something. So continuous improvement. And in the way in which those meetings are supposed to happen, these kind of psychological group dynamics, such as groupthink, are taken into account. So, for example, at the planning meeting, when we estimate something, there's a debate about that feature, how does it work, how should it look, And then there is a voting process. So each member of the team literally has like a piece of paper, or there's multiple ways to do it,
a
with
sticker or
cards. You can
something.
do it
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
But anyway, each of them has a vote, which is anonymous. It's like each of them thinks how much it takes, and they all reveal their vote. Like, I think it takes 3 days or 2 days or 5 days. It's actually not days, but I'm not getting into detail, at the same time.
Yeah.
The idea is not to influence each other. And also so those kind of things, for example, take this into account, and you're sort of forcing, again, quote unquote, all the opinions to come up. But I think sometimes managers don't do it because it's a bit less efficient. So if you have a team and you have a certain issue, a certain problem in a certain area of your operation, and you know that one particular person is the expert in that area, it's usually more efficient to just, we have a problem in finance. Andre is the finance guy. Andre, what do you think we should do about it? It's only natural to ask the expert what to do. And you know what? I think if that's like a day-to-day kind of problem, I think that's fine. Not everything needs to be brainstormed, right? But sometimes, if when you have something that's a bit more important, or a bit more ambiguous, or a bit more something not day-to-day, something more extraordinary, I think you should take a step back and try to get everyone's ideas, and not only the one person or two people that are, so let's say, experts in that area. Takes a bit more time, takes a bit more organization, but you will get better results in the end.
Yeah, I think you're treating the short-term possibility of a good solution, because it's a possibility of a good solution, not necessarily a good solution, going to the most senior person or the expert on the matter to solve it for you. You treat that for a more cohesive, more coherent team that will work better together on longer time, and will be able to cover each other on certain skills and certain areas, and help each other and stuff like that. Because if you are consistently going to another person to ask an opinion that I could also give you an opinion on, I think I will start distancing myself from the team. I will feel alienated by the team manager, not valuing me as a team member, and so on and so on. Even if you are not the most expert person, maybe you have a different approach, a different idea that could be taken in consideration, not necessarily be the best solution, but it should be at least taken in consideration. So yeah, I think because the companies have pressure from clients, they have put pressure on team members, and they compromise the integrity of the team for the short-term benefit of trying to find a solution. So I think that's dangerous, a dangerous way of doing business. And definitely, but on the other hand, if you consult everybody every time in every meeting, you hit the group thinking problem, and you have to address that also. So, which is nice, because agile methodologies like Scrum address that, which is, I wasn't aware of that, because I'm just tangentially familiar with the Scrum methodology, not necessarily worked in an agile environment. So that's really cool and really interesting, and it kind of answers my question regarding the how should we go about the roundtable, and maybe use methodologies that have taken in consideration this problem of group thinking. But what I found fascinating is, how would a meeting work if the team leader was not there? It's like you said earlier that would be a great idea. So it would be a good idea to have the team meeting among themselves without the leader, without the pressure, the presence of the leader, the team leader, so they can find together a solution. In that context, wouldn't like the most senior person raise as a informal leader, and I'll take the notes, I'll present the notes, etc., and still kind of hit the same wall or the same problem?
Yeah, so let me give an example about the kinds of things I was thinking of. So, for example, I'm the manager for the department or whatever, and we have going back to the initial example, we have a client opportunity. A client has asked us to provide a plan and an estimate and a quote for a project. Good. I'm going to my team, my technical team, and I'm telling them, okay, we have this client, they have these requirements, they need estimates. Can you please estimate this? Go through the requirements, tell me if you need more information, tell me how much you think, how clear are they, how much do you think it's going to take us, can you do it, can you not do it? For that, they will have to have a number of relatively pretty detailed technical meetings, maybe one meeting, maybe more meetings. As a leader, I don't want to go to those meetings, more generally speaking. Maybe I go to a few of them just to see how it's going, just to make sure the dynamic is okay, but I don't want to be there. And I don't want to be there. And when they say something like it's going to take them 3 days to put a button somewhere, I'm like, oh, 3 days to put a button. Even if it's good intentions from my side, those kinds of things are going to influence them. And I'm just going to let them do it. What you say is a valid point. How are they going to self-organize? Maybe it's going to be even worse without me being there. That's a possibility, of course. But if I have a good team, a healthy team, if I know them, if they're a good team and they have good trust and working relationships, they're going to be fine. Of course, if it's a dysfunctional team, probably it's not going to work out okay. But if it's a dysfunctional team where they do not get along and they don't trust each other, then groupthink is just one of many problems.
Yeah, exactly. It would be like a parent leaving the children to play with them, with one another, and leaving the room and hoping everything is gonna be fine and the house is not gonna burn down. Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, that's cool. I think that were my questions about this topic. If you have any other thing you want to mention specifically?
Just one thing as an advice for any leader, manager, how to avoid groupthink. Just remember that groupthink is not something that only happens to bad leaders. It doesn't only happen to bad manager. It doesn't only happen in bad companies. It happens to good people. It happens to good leader, and it happens without knowing it happens. And sometimes because we're just so excited about something and so eager to do something, we can, without wanting to, put too much pressure on the team or put them in a situation where we don't allow them to think freely. And that will lead us to come up with a solution that is actually not a real solution. It's the result of groupthink. So sometimes you just have to give your team some space and make sure everybody gets a voice and structure the discussions in certain ways to make sure everyone is realistically contributing their opinion. And refrain your enthusiasm and refrain your involvement in order to get the best input you can possibly get from your team.
That's nice. Thank you for your insights. It was a very insightful conversation for me because I wasn't really aware of this issue before. So I'm happy I'm able to better understand it now. And I hope also that our listeners will do too. So thank you, Henry.
Thank you. And thanks. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, and have a good day, everyone. We're still getting used to this podcast thing, so it's easy to talk about the actual topic. The weirdest parts are like the intros and the outros. Like, what do we say? How do we say goodbye and things like that? So we're still getting used to that. We will get used to that.
Bear with us. It's gonna be fun in the end. Hopefully, you'll be here when we're gonna be to the next 100 episode, and we'll get better at this. Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.